Hi everyone, I'm Simon, former military intelligence officer from the Canadian Armed Forces. I'm going to talk to you today about what happened in the east of Kharkiv, the Ukrainian offensive that was conducted from the 6th of September 2022. For this video, we're going to use a very simple military intelligence technique that is simply to put boundaries between the different units on the battlefield. And what you are seeing right now is a map that I use from UA War data. And I've just applied the boundaries that are between the different armies. And that was during the summer of 2022. So you see the different boundaries between the 35 Army, 68th Army, 36, 20th, the Second Army, and the 31st Army. And so that was a lot of troop and concentration of force in Izium during the summer 2022, but there was no offensive that has appeared from that region during that time. That is now the map in September 2022. As you could see, were a lot of forces that were removed from Izium and sent elsewhere during the month of August, and that has changed quite a lot the boundaries between the different armies. It appears that at one point there was a good idea ferries that has appeared in the Kremlin, and that said that it was a good idea to do a military exercise with a lot of troops in the middle of a war or special operation, and that good idea became reality. The Vostok 2022 exercise took place in some shithole in eastern Russia with over 50,000 troops. So you have to take those troops somewhere. You have to find them somewhere and then send them to the east. And that's exactly what happened. If we come back to the UA War data map, the from the summer 2022, the 35th, 36th Army and the 68th Corps were all part of the Eastern District. So those are probably the units that were moved back for that Vostok exercise. So in September, all the Eastern Army and Corps were gone, and the First Army went in Izium, and north of the First Army was the 20th Army, and the Second Army was at the east of the First Army. So that left a lot less troop in this area and no death in their defensive posture. So now we're going to see how that offensive took place by using the deep state data map. And I've applied the boundaries between the 21st and 2nd Army to that map. And we're going to see the expansion where it takes place. That is very useful for military intelligence to identify the boundaries, as it gives a potential gap in the defense because it's neither the blunt of their forces, so usually there's a space that can be exploited by the commander. So that probably is a good analysis done by the Ukrainian and American military intelligence, so they could find a place to exploit, and with great success. So both the 6th and 7th September, the Ukrainian forces, which was consisted of at least 5 brigades, both armored and mechanized, got into contact with the first line of defense from both the 20th and 1st Army. And that was probably the only line of defense that was in that area because there was no depth in the defensive posture of the Russians. On the 8th, the Ukrainians definitely had a penetration over the 20th army line, and the 20th Army compared to the First Army was really stretched. So they did their mobile reserve. Usually, every forces try to get their reserve in order to stop a possible infiltration. But the 20th Army was really stretched, so I guess their mobile reserve was unable to cover that gap. So that's why there's more penetration, more on the 20th Army side, and that was just the beginning. Without depth, they were unable, the ninth, to stop the Ukrainian progression. And it's not that much that there was fighting. It's much more that there was no opposition that would try to stop the Ukrainians. So that led to very rapid movement across the 20th Army sector. By taking those zones, the Ukrainians have put a lot of pressure on the logistic support for the First Army, and were able to punch through the depth of the Second and 41st Army. So the Russian decided to move back their force from their respective sector in order to create a defensive line in the zone that is closer to the Luhansk Oblast. The idea is probably to put a defensive line that would looks like this. So the First Army moved back from Izium, and the Second Army moved north from their position at the beginning of the month of September in order to block the Ukrainian offensive, and the 20th Army has to move back both to Russia and to cover for the possible expansion of the Ukrainian forces. And so it would give the Russian a possibility to create a line before the Ukrainian reach the Luhansk district. At the time of recording this video, this should be the position that will take the Russian forces for the next days. Of course, this can change a lot, and right now the battlefield is not stable, so there can be a lot of movement. So, in conclusion, the Russian armed forces, did not lose uh, any army, as far as I know, at the moment of making this video. They surely had to move quite fast, so they left probably a lot of equipment behind. So mostly logistic support, ammo, those kind of things. But it is definitely a very strong symbolic defeat for the Russians. I'm not sure they have lost a lot of men or equipment, but definitely symbolically, having the Ukrainians being able to push in just a few days thousands of square kilometers, while the Russians has struggled to gain a few kilometers per day. Definitely, it sends a very strong message, and that kind of message will have to be answered by the Kremlin, and that is a bit it's a good news that might come with bad news in the next few days. But definitely, one good news is that the morale for the Ukrainian army must be very strong, and it must certainly also have a negative impact on the morale for the Russian forces. So, in order to such offensive to work, definitely we have to praise the Good Idea Ferry. We have also have to praise the extremely rapidly adapting command, both probably with the help of the Americans. So very good command and decision process by the Ukrainians. And also, we have to praise the courage of the Ukrainian troops that fought those battles. So that is all for me today. It's first time I'm making a video, so there may be some little element. I'm not sure if I'm going to do other videos. So if you like, please just like and subscribe and all those kind of things. And I'm going to see in the future if I'm going to make other video like this. So thank you very much. Have a nice day.